I want to take the time to show you this note card that I break down how to do word problems. Word problems are really confusing because they ask you questions and you don't know where to put things. So I've made this handy dandy note card that you should copy down and keep on you and kind of tape in your notebook and take it out when you need it. That shows you how to put the proportions together with things that you're trying to find the answer to that's just not straightforward. You're going to have an unknown quantity, and I always put it at the top of my worksheet. For instance, I'm looking at this thing, a Jayita snack that contains peanuts and pecans. You first read the problem. Ratio of 8:3, how many grams of pecans? Well, how many grams of pecans? I put down here, and I put grams of pecans. That's what I'm looking for. If I always put this in the same position on my proportion, I always do the same kind of calculation. And it says known units of B. In this case, I am comparing A to B. This is unknown A. So therefore, my ratio for A must be over here. What's the ratio of pecans? Peanuts and pecans, 8:3. So remember, this is peanuts would be 8. So this would be on the bottom, right? 8 peanuts for every 3 pecans. All right, so now we got this going on. How many grams of pecans? That's what we're looking for. If it contains 584 grams of peanuts. Now, I know sometimes we get sloppy. We don't like to write out the words. I advise you writing the words. You make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. All right? Pecan, and then we have peanuts, pecan, then peanuts. Then you could do your cross multiply. You multiply this by 3, okay, and just divide by 8, leaving this guy by its side. When you start doing these things, you want to make sure you're doing the right thing every time. And how you do this is that it's always set up the same way. These guys are here, right? And you have the unknown always in this corner, all right? This is always on this side. It's always going to be your ratio, okay? 1 to 2, 2 to 1. In this case, our ratio was what? 3 pecans for every 8 peanuts, right? And then we said, how many peanuts did you have? Well, according to this guy, it was 589 peanuts. If you're always doing this, this is our unknown pecans. Okay, now when this goes up, you just leave it. This guy stays by himself, right? You have moved this up. We've been doing these equations like this, especially with fractions. So it's 589 times 3 divided by 8 will give me my grams of pecans, right? And that is going to be equal to 219 grams. Now, I have a whole bunch of worksheets that do these kind of things, okay? So it's best if you always set them up the same way, and it kind of makes it a whole lot easier for doing these kind of calculations, all right? So let's try another one. Since I'm showing you how to do this, let's go ahead and we'll clean the slate here. We'll go to this problem over here. Let me clean this. We don't need that, right? Look at this guy. A dose of a certain medication is 2 milligrams for every 80 pounds of body weight. How many milligrams of medication are required for a person weighing 200 pounds, okay? So what am I looking for? I'm looking for how many milligrams of medication, right? So I go back here. I'm going to go question mark, milligrams of, I'm just going to call it med, okay? So on this side, I must have my ratio for med over here. That must mean underneath must be LBS, pounds, right? I don't understand why it's LBS, but we'll go with it. LBS here and LBS here. So what's my ratio of medication to pound? Medication is 2 milligrams for every 80 pounds, right? So I'm going to go back here, 2 mg for every 80 LBS. So how big is our patient? Patient is 200 pounds, right? So I go back to this. I'm going to go 200 LBS. Once again, this goes up, right? So we are just, this will go away now. So we have question mark milligram of med equals 200 times 2 divided by 80 ends up being what? 200 times 2 is 400. 400 divided by 80 equals milligrams of med equals 5 milligrams. And that would be our answer. Okay? It's the best way to do this thing because you always know where to put something when working this kind of a problem. Right? How about this woodcutter? Let's see how he's doing today. This guy, and sometimes like I just mark what I'm looking at. A woodcut artist makes calendars by hand. In one work day, he can make 4 calendars. Well, here's my ratio, 1 to 4. If he works for 9 weeks, 5 days per week, how many calendars? Okay, once again, we're setting our ratio up. Bar, and we'll put our equals here, right? I'm looking for how many calendars. So I look back at my ratio. My ratio is 1 workday, 4 calendars. So once again, 4 calendars. Sorry, I always put that in wrong. 4 calendars, and I'll write it like that, right? 1, I'm going to put workday like this. Just take out the vowels, so I know what it is. So the question, how many work days do I go, right? 9 weeks, 5 days per work week. So I know that 9 times 5 is 45. That's fairly easy, right? So I work for 45 days, right? So let's do this. So 45 times 4, okay, equals my number of calendars equals 45 times 4, right? Pretty easy. We end up making calendars 180, right? That's pretty straight, right? Everybody got that? And then the question goes on from there. It says, the woodcut artist charges $22 per calendar and sells about 7 out of every 8 calendars. Now it's getting confusing. How much money can he expect to make, right? Well, first of all, let's see how many he makes. He sells 7 out of every 8, okay? That's a proportion. So let's go back up here, right? He says he sells, this continues on, obviously, 7 out of every 8 calendars. So I'm going to put this equal to this, okay? So I'm going to put down 7 sold for every 8 made. And he made how many? 180 calendars. So he wants to find out how many he sold. Once again, we're always putting the unknown in this one corner. This makes it so much easier to do these problems. This would go up, right? Multiply, divide. So we have 180 times 7 divided by 8. You get the number 157.5. I don't think you could sell half a calendar because that'd be kind of weird. So I'm going to tilde this thing and say it's going to really probably sell 158 calendars. Okay, great. Okay. So the next part, you could do this. I'm going to just do as a proportion too as well. Why not? Right. So the next question was, how much does he make? Well, if we put it like this, still doing proportions, okay, because that makes it fun, right? So it's how much money. Well, that's not what I want. Okay, undo. How much money? I'll put a dollar sign. If I make $22 for 1 calendar, and I made 158 calendars, once again, this goes up. My money would be equal to 158 times 22. Wow, he's making bank, right? I guess 9 weeks moves. You get $3,476. All right. So in review, just to kind of see this note card kind of shows you what you're doing. Why are you always putting it here? So you always know what you're looking for. What I'm looking for goes in that corner. Everything has to be lined up. So you have to have the sold, in this case, sold and sold on both side calendar, and that's for everyone made. This is one of these things where you're looking, these are for calendars. You're trying to line each thing up so you can do the proportion. And it gets really tricky when you start doing word problems trying to see which one that you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to put it.